welcome into what I think is going to be the most fantastic episode of the Barking Browns show ever. And we're only at 4, so I don't know what that means.
The Phil Dawson episode.
There it is. There it is. It's the Phil Dawson episode. All right. So let me go on Twitter real quick, as we always do. I'll get our intros here in a second, but I want to get over to Nick's and retweet it.
I got to do that fun stuff. I am off the game today, so I need to be on the ball here.
I stepped into it today on Twitter because I started talking about OTAs.
Oh, man. Yeah, I caught up a little bit. For those who don't know, I sleep during the middle of the day, so I miss a lot that's going on. So I caught a little bit of it before we went live here, and Twitter's a war zone right now.
All right, guys, welcome in to episode 4 of the Barking Browns show. I'm your host, Jacob. I'm at Roachism13. It's below there, somewhere down there. This is the man that he's over there. This is the man that never misses, Nick Carnes. His Twitter is at the bottom here, but we all know you all. What the hell am I even talking about, right? So I'm excited to have you guys here. We got a Building Browns to talk about. We got defensive additions to talk about. We have a really spicy last segment inspired by our guest that I think is going to be phenomenal, and you're not going to want to miss that. So without further ado, excuse me, I have my new headphones on, my new flag in the background. I flew that in Afghanistan. It hung in my chew while I was overseas in 17 and 18, in case you guys were curious about that. Has some Afghanistan dirt on it, which is it's bad. Don't that's not a good thing. So I want to introduce this guy. I want to say a couple of things about this guy. I came across his podcast. I want to say it was the episode that he had Lane Adkins on, I think is what caught my, and then I ended up listening to absolutely all of them because he is when I listen to this man podcast, I just have a damn good time. Like I have a good time listening to it. It's not just sports. It's having fun. He's a huge horror movie buff, and I love horror movies as well, even though I have reoccurring nightmares, and it's a terrible idea for me to watch horror movies, but I say fuck it, and I do it anyway. This is the kind of guy, his Twitter is, there's an aspect of his Twitter that I really, really want to model. No sexism, no anti-Semitism, no bullying, no belittling. It's just phenomenal the way he stands up for people. Like someone's argument, not a person. It's bullshit. The host of the amazing Not the Same Old Browns podcast, and one handsome son of a bitch, Andy Lytle. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on? Jacob, Nick, thanks for having me, man. And thanks for that. You nailed that intro. Holy, I can't do that. I could not do that. No.
I stuttered a little way through it, but
you were phenomenal. You were phenomenal. Well, this is fun, man. I like you guys, so this is gonna be a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So we got a little rundown here at the bottom. We're going to talk about building the Browns. I did a deep scouting report on Demetric Felton. Had a lot of fun watching some tape on this guy. And we're going to talk about some defensive additions and some apparently OTAs talk, because I stepped into it on Twitter today when I said, are we really talking about helmets and shorts workouts and thinking that the Browns aren't going to make the playoffs because they're not out there doing walkthroughs in their shorts? And I got told yes, that was in fact the case. So Andy's having a good time. So I got to ask Andy, what do you think about this OTA battle?
Well, first of all, we're in. I mentioned this to a friend the other day on their podcast, on the Top Dogs podcast. We're in May, which is dead zone season for Browns and just NFL football in general. All right. Now, OTAs are kicking up. All that's happening. But mostly for most of May, there's not much going on. There really isn't. There's not a lot of news. Maybe sometimes you get lucky. But so I think everyone on Twitter, all of Browns Twitter, they're not sure what to do with themselves. And I also think they're not used to having a good team either. Yeah. And none of us are. So I feel like we've got to do something. And it's just, let's just treat each other like garbage for every day on Twitter and argue about this, argue about that. And it's a little exhausting. I'm not going to lie.
It's been, you know what? I feel like it's just the last few days in particular because like free agency has been really fun. The draft was really fun.
Yes.
There's been a lot of positive Browns stuff, and then you know what? It's like, but between that, you know, it was like, should the Browns trade for Deshaun Watson? Should the Browns trade for Aaron Rodgers? Odell Beckham is washed up. Whatever argument, it's like every other week there's a new. Some random graphic comes out where Baker Mayfield is a bust. Apparently, it's every week.
Trade for Aaron Rodgers. Trade for Deshaun. I've heard. Let's see this offseason. Trade for Deshaun Watson. Well, that got put to bed really quick.
Yeah.
Trade for Aaron Rodgers. Trade for Julio Jones. Like I look. Whatever. Like this whole the Jarvis Landry Julio Jones thing. Like look. Is Julio Jones a better player? Yes, obviously. I mean, he is, but it's like, it's okay for a Browns fan to want Jarvis Landry instead of Julio Jones. And it's okay for a Browns fan to want Julio Jones over Jarvis Landry. But let's not attack each other for wanting one or the other. It's just our opinions. It is what it is. And the thing that's bothered me, I've saw over this topic in particular, is people on Twitter that know a lot about football, and they know a lot about football, and they know more about football than the person that's tweeting at them, most likely. And I feel like they've used like stuff like this Landry and Julio Jones thing to like just dunk on people who know less about football than them. It's like, what does that achieve? What? Okay, great. You flexed, you quote tweeted and flexed on a mother of four who just loves Jarvis Landry. You idiot! Like for God's sakes, man! Like let up on people. I can't. Look at me. My voice is raised and I'm already yelling and I've been here 3 minutes.
People,
I want to try to catch up on the comments real quick because everybody's with us here. I like this. Think of OTAs like Ken Carmen's top 10 lists during quarantine, just buying and filling time. Yeah. This is the one argument that I have heard that I understand talking about like timing issues potentially. I can understand that. I do understand where you're coming from with that sort of thing. Once again, he reiterates, hey, we're just trying to fill dead time. I think that's what we're doing here.
That's what this is. This happens every May. Every single May, like clockwork.
You don't know. Okay, so I'll tell you what my dad said. And this is where I think that I talked to him today about the OTAs thing, and I'll say this, and I wonder if it was kind of me and my dad going back and forth, and we kind of came to this conclusion. And I want to hear if you guys agree with us. I said, normally we want to forget about what happened last year. Like it's just where we are in May. We want to say, hey, these aren't the Browns of last year. It's a new year. Last year we got good football that we wanted to see more. And now we got a roster that got improved on top of that. And we are so damn eager to see more good football because we've never had it, that we are in turn eating each other alive, because if they were at OTAs, we could at least see them, on the field, right? We could see them throw the pass and you're like, oh, hell yeah. Did you see Baker hitting Schwartz on that dime, buddy? What? I don't care that it's May 25th. I don't give a shit. He just threw 4 tutters in shorts and a helmet. I get it. But guys, if they don't show up to OTAs, they don't go from a 12-5, 13-4 football team to a 5-12 team. That's not what's going to happen in May.
I do want to now. I don't think it's like the end of the world right now. And Jacob, you and I talked about this a little bit earlier, where we said, they didn't have OTAs last year, and they still won 11 games and won a playoff game. So what are we really talking about here? But I do want to kind of point out for just a second that last year no other teams had OTAs either. So
right.
and we're only a day in here. So, it's not that big of a deal. But say for a prolonged period of time, all these other teams are working together and the Browns aren't. I think that would concern me at some point. Like right now, I don't think it's a big deal right now. But, obviously we all want the Browns to be in there. I just think, say it goes on for like 2 weeks or however long, then it's like all these other teams are getting a little bit of a leg up on you. And so that concerns me a little bit.
And I said that on Twitter. I said, once they start hitting, once they're doing live hitting and putting shoulder pads on, if they miss those practices, oh yeah, I'm worried at that point because now you are truly behind.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we go through this every year. Whether it's the voluntary workouts, the involuntary workouts, who's there, who's not there, is it going to put us behind the 8 ball? Does it even matter at all? At the end of the day, we have Kevin Stefanski, who I think we all will agree is the best Browns coach we've had since 1999. He, as a rookie head coach, I'm going to do one of. I'm like teeing up one of Nick's awesome tweets here. I mean, he was a rookie head coach, and he went through. I mean, last year was the most bizarre offseason of NFL football in the history of the league. So they turned out just fine from that. So me, at the end of the day, I'm not super worried about it because I know who we got at the helm. I know the talent we have on the roster, and just get me into a normal training camp, and then if people aren't showing up. People are holding out or whatever. Just give me the normal training camp, and I think everybody will just kind of calm down on all this OTA stuff.
Yeah. Did I see that they had a positive COVID case today?
So
They did. I guess
the Athletic reported, and part of that report, and I won't quote anybody 100%, but the player who tested positive has had their first dose, but not the second dose.
Right.
So it's one of those situations where, yeah, it happened. A few people were sent home. We don't really know who it was. At least last I checked before we jumped on here, we didn't know who it was. Like, let's get this out of the way in May, not the night before we play the Jets where we lose our entire receiving corps. I don't want to deal with those things, but COVID's not away. And I think that was kind of what we learned today. We're not quite out of that woods yet.
Definitely not. I think as more time goes by, I think we'll be there, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. So I want to talk about my poll. So we'll bring this up here. We're talking about defensive additions. Which one was your favorite, or or to you guys the most important of the defensive additions? I asked a question. I do these polls to get conversations going. For those of you who may be new to me. On Twitter, I do this on Sundays. I used to do it on Mondays. With the show coming out on Tuesdays, I kind of just push it back to have an extra day. And it really usually starts pretty good conversation. I've had conversations about who was your favorite draft pick, who was your favorite free agency signing. So I threw them all together, and I said, of the 4, Newsome, who I spelled his name wrong and I'm aware of, JOK, Clowney, and John Johnson. What were so I took who I thought were the 2 biggest free agent signings. Troy Hill was enormous as well, but I just I didn't want to go 2 defensive backs.
Sure.
And then I took, the top 2 draft picks, which were enormous as well. So over 60% of the vote went for exactly the way I thought it was John Johnson. I was surprised by about 0.5%. Jadeveon Clowney beat out Greg Newsome for 3rd place, and 2nd place was JOK. I think we could agree in 20-some%. So let's talk about this. Who, to you guys, was the best? Maybe it doesn't have to be the most important, but maybe your favorite defensive addition. And if it's not one of those 4 guys, tell me who it is and plead your case.
You want me to go, Nick?
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
All right, sure. For me, it's pretty easy. It's John Johnson III. He was the number 1 free agent target that I wanted. I thought he was the number 1 free agent target that the Browns needed. At the end of the day, in this dime 4-2-5 that Joe Woods runs, you need secondary, back seven, especially safety, corners, all of it. And I think we all know the biggest trouble the Browns had last year was the passing defense. It was terrible. Some guys they just didn't have the depth. Guys were put in places where they probably shouldn't have been. It was a glaring hole, and he's going to be able to come over and do a lot of things that Joe Woods needs in this defense. And not to mention, he was a defensive captain over there with the Rams, which is awesome. So he's a leader. He's smart. He's intelligent. Really good football player. He's going to fit in well, but close second would probably be Newsome for me because corner was such a big need. But I didn't think he'd be there at 26. But yeah, probably John Johnson the third for me. I
like that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the definitely the most glaring need was our pass defense. I'm with you there. Yep. I think I was definitely in the minority though. I voted for Jadeveon Clowney.
Sure.
And the reason to me is that when you look at the two Browns playoff games, so you lose Olivier Vernon in Week 17, who was arguably the hottest defensive end in football at the time. Over the second half of the season. And Ben's 4 interceptions really covered it up. But, with Miles still recovering from COVID, they really did not breathe on either Ben or Patrick Mahomes for the majority of those games. And so I just think you need to pressure the quarterback. You absolutely have to. And even if Jadeveon isn't getting the sacks, which I think he still will, if you're generating that pressure, we know Myles Garrett will be there. I think Malik Jackson will be there to clean up some of those. And so to me, I think of paramount importance, we have to pressure. We have to – the way Tampa Bay was able to pressure Patrick Mahomes, they made him look like that's as non-Patrick Mahomes as I've ever seen him look. And so I value that pressure, and I think Clowney is going to bring it with him.
And it's kind of speaks, and I'll let our boy Ed in Columbus is our biggest fan. He's checking in here. We know you're there, Ed. We see you. We love you. We love what you do for us.
Thanks for being here, Ed.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys being in here. This new age of covering this pass game, I'm really excited about the way – like different teams are attacking this differently, getting a bunch of good defensive backs. Some teams are electing to get a bunch of good pass rushers. That being their solution to, Patrick Mahomes, that being their solution to attacking. The fact of the matter is, how do you beat Lamar Jackson? You cover his guys and you force him to do what he doesn't want to do, and you have linebackers aren't what beats linebackers are not what beats Lamar Jackson. A safety who doesn't have to worry about deep passes because the corners can play man on man and he can free flow from the back to see what Lamar is doing.
Sure.
And same thing with Patrick Mahomes. He's going to run around. He's going to do something. You need to force him off of what he doesn't want to do, and your corners have to. You can't be needing to blitz guys. That's what I'm getting at. You need to be able to get pressure and potentially containment from your front four against those two, and even against Josh Allen, the top 3, I think, contenders in the AFC against the Browns. I think that's where you have to go from those guys. And I'm gotta open this window. It's hot in here.
And I'm with Nick a little bit on the Clowney signing. While it's not my favorite acquisition that they did on defense, it is one of my favorites because I was pounding the table for him daily for I think months, even going back to last season. I really like the player. People that say he can't play, it's just not true. If you're worried about his injury concerns, that I understand. But
sure.
To say he's not a good football player is just absolutely ridiculous. Because at the end of the day, I say this all the time on my podcast, and I've had this discussion with several guests. Sacks are not the end all be all when it comes to edge rushers. It quite possibly may be the most overrated stat in football. Is it important? Sure, sacks are great, but a lot of things that Clowney does not show up in the box score. It doesn't. And that's mostly pressures and stuff like that. Stopping the run. He's elite against the run. So, and I like the idea of what they're going to do with him, because I don't think he's just going to be on the edge all the time. I think you're going to see on third downs, McKinley kick out to the edge, and then you're going to kick Clowney inside, which is, I'm excited about that as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We talked me and Nick talked about that exact scenario. I said, think about like a rookie quarterback, like let's say, and me and Nick are trying to we're trying to have a live podcast from the Muni lot week 3.
I can't wait.
We're going to see if that works.
Yeah.
But I said, what about Justin? And I love Justin Fields, and I'm an Ohio State guy, and I love Justin Fields. But I said, think about a rookie walking up to the line of scrimmage, and he looks up to the left. There's Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Malik Jackson, and Tack McKinley in front of him.
Sure.
And it's 3rd and 12. Good luck.
Yes.
I mean, because you're not double teaming them all. Somebody's coming free. Is it going to be Clowney?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Tack? Who's it going to be? And then you said it very perfectly, and then Ed in Columbus is echoing it. He sets the edge. He sets the edge.
He's great at it. Always has been.
If he sets that edge, and you have to bounce out, and you're looking at guys like the speed of Jacob Phillips, and I'm really high on Jacob Phillips, a healthy Jacob Phillips. Him and JOK free-flowing back there, if they have to stutter and bounce out of Clowney, that's a tackle for a loss, or that's a 2-yard gain at most. And like you said, Andy, that doesn't show up in the box score.
No.
I think, especially, it's really hard to gauge, and I like what you said, Andy, about things not showing up in the box score, because it's really hard to gauge. How does pressure impact the decision the quarterback makes?
Absolutely.
And so if you can just rush that throw by half a second, that might be that much space for either a tip ball or an interception, that if the play develops by just a little bit more, it comes open. So anybody that can consistently generate pressure is someone I'm excited about to be on our defensive line, because that secondary to pass defense was probably our biggest issue in the playoffs to me. Sure.
I mean, you even go back to things that don't pop up in the box score. I got an example for you. The Taki interception off of Wentz last year, the pick 6. Everyone remembers it was Taki, but the reality is he probably won't have an easier interception in the rest of his career. But no one really remembers how that was caused. It was caused by Denzel Ward, I believe, coming off the edge on a blitz.
Yep.
And what caused that interception? Pressure. No one remembers that, but that's really what got you that pick 6 was that pressure. And that's the thing that Clowney does.
It's an even more impressive thing, because that wasn't a design blitz. There just was nobody on that side for Denzel to cover, and he was like, well, hello,
go get him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's it. That's great. I love that. Let's talk about building the Browns. Let's move on, talk about building the Browns. Actually, I got a defensive question for you guys. This is something I was listening to the OBR film breakdown live from last night, and Jake was talking to Lane Adkins, who guys follows me on Twitter, and I had a freak out when it happened.
Lane's good people, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I called my dad.
I love it.
And my wife.
I would have too.
I mean,
yeah,
she was in the other room, but it's whatever. She's like, "Why are you calling me? I'm in the living room." So Lane this was asked of Lane from Jake, and his answer kind of surprised me. Not really. It got me thinking, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna ask these guys this tonight and see what you guys think about it." And anybody listening that wants to chime in, that'd be great as well. Who do you expect from last year's rookie class to make the biggest jump in year 2?
Ooh.
It was a great question because initially, and I'll answer first because I can see the wheels turning in everybody's head, and because I did the same thing. So initially, I thought Jedrick Wills, just solely because of reps at the position, and then when Lane answered, I jumped on his. I was like, oh, Lane's correct, and he said it's Jacob Phillips because of health, comfort. We saw week 17. The sideline to sideline speed of a healthy Jacob Phillips is an elite trait.
Yes.
I think he leads. Who said it? Maybe it was Jeff Lloyd, I think, said that he thinks he'll lead the team in tackles this year. And I second that.
Wow.
Yeah. If the kid stays healthy, he's going to be on the field a lot. He's just what they want, a rangy, fast linebacker that can go sideline to sideline. That's what he does best, and he's a pretty damn good tackler. So, yeah, no, that's a really good one. My heart wants to say Grant Delpit because I just really love the player, but then my brain tells me, that I don't want to put too much pressure on the kid because, you're coming off a torn Achilles. That's no joke.
Yeah.
I want it to be Grant Delpit. I guess that's my answer. I want it to be Grant Delpit because I think if he's fully healthy, but here's the thing. I think expectations of Delpit realistically to where he's, and I'm not even talking where he's on the field, just where he's on the field and things are starting to click and he's starting to play consistently well. To be realistic, you're probably talking weeks 6 through 10 until that even really truly happens. Because let's face it, he's still a rookie. He hasn't played a down. Yeah. So, but my heart does want to say Grant Delpit because I'm rooting for the player, and I absolutely love Grant Delpit.
I have cheered very few times and acted a fool, like actually cheered during draft picks. And Grant Delpit was one. I didn't go totally nuts like I did for Nick Chubb, but like when they announced Grant Delpit, did they not move back and still get him?
They did. Yeah, they did.
And I was just like, you give Andrew Berry a clap and then he did it this year by being patient for Greg Newsome. And I love the answer of Grant Delpit because, and I don't mean to put so much on what he could have been last year, but his injury, and it's not just because he wasn't there, it made other people's role change. Like Sendejo went from that veteran leader that was doing this or that to, hey, dude, you're the only dude who even knows what free safety is.
Yeah, I know.
I feel so bad for him.
It was of Jabril Peppers having to play out in the Lake Erie because they just didn't have the personnel that they wanted. It's like you so clearly could see that the scheme was not going to work without Grant Delpit from week 1. Which that was such a punch in the gut. And so every time Grant posts anything with him running or just looking like he's healthy, that's so exciting to me. I love seeing that.
Yeah, same.
What do you got, Nick? Who's your guy?
So I'm going to go in a direction that you probably will not expect. But I think the answer here is Harrison Bryant. I'm secretly a big fan of his. And
not more. Cat's out of the bag.
That's
Take
true.
that.
So rarely do tight ends contribute significantly in their rookie year. And Harrison found, I think he scored 4 touchdowns last year. That it's if it's not 4, it's close. But
sounds right.
For Harrison to be able to contribute like he did as a rookie in a 3-man rotation, largely, I think that speaks to the potential that he has. And one of the things that they said about him when he was drafted is that he really needed to fill out. He needed to get in the weight room and add weight and all that stuff. And so in the game that the Browns' fortunes changed in week 7 against the Bengals, Harrison scored 2 of those touchdowns that brought the Browns back. And it was very quietly like a really like I thought, his really welcome to the NFL, here's here. And so I think that he has a chance to contribute significantly. I'm not sure how the rotation is going to work out. I'm still team David Njoku is the best Browns tight end. That I'm firmly on that hill.
Sure.
But sure, but I just think Harrison Bryant, it showed us as a rookie when few rookie tight ends do contribute that he is a player, and I'm so excited to see year 2.
Yeah, and you can't sell him short on this either. Harrison Bryant is one sexy mother effer as well. So he's a good looking dude, man. Great bod, handsome young face. Yeah, good looking kid. Can't sell him short.
Used to be
sexy bitch. He was, yeah, he was, and he is one sexy bitch. I'll tell you, he is.
Dude, there's a picture from when he was a kid of him like at Hooters with like 7.
Oh, yeah.
I have not seen this.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna have to send it your way. It's pretty fantastic.
It is pretty funny.
Here's MC weighing in that he believes that OBJ could get hurt and that Donovan would be the guy who stretches fit. I'll tell you this, honestly, as Nick was before he dropped the Harrison Bryant, I kind of thought he might say Peoples-Jones.
I thought Nick was going to go Peoples-Jones. I did. And
I do like Donovan a lot. I will say he was probably my second pick.
I think Peoples-Jones, they did it. Jeff Lloyd said this. They did Peoples-Jones. For once, the Browns were in a position to do a late round rookie correct.
Yes.
He was eased into his role. Now, I get it. He kind of had to play maybe even a little bit sooner than they wanted because they had some injuries at wide receiver with Kadero Hodge and I'm trying to think of and Odell as well. And because maybe he might have even taken a smaller role, but he was eased into those things. He wasn't a returner and a receiver right out the gate, which could make, rookies. He was a 6th round person. And I think maybe you've even said this yourself on your podcast, Andy, is that we're finally in a spot where day 3 guys are project guys.
Oh, you broke up a little bit. So, yeah, you went out for like 5 seconds. Repeat that. All I heard was I heard you say on your pod. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm in internet. I live in an apartment complex. My internet sucks.
You'll have that.
Yeah. We're buying a house. I'm moving in like a month. It'll be
congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. The appraisal went through, so we're good. We're finally in a spot where day 3 rookies can be brought along. They can be developed. They don't have to start. We're not looking at a 7th round receiver and be like, can he be the number 2?
Yeah.
No. I mean, even this past draft that we just got through, a lot of these picks were picks for the future. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Most lot of 3. Them. Yeah, exactly. So, no, you're right. You're right. It's a weird position to be in. As a Browns fan, it is. Another thing that we're going to have to get used to too is one thing that's intriguing to me about this once we get the training camp, once we get through the preseason, is these position group battles because there's going to be some good football players going out the door. And again, we're not used to that as Browns fans. And but guess what? As we continue, if the Browns, Lord willing, this ends up being a 3-year, dare I say 5-year window of the Browns are just a good team year in and year out. It's going to happen every offseason. Every training camp, there's going to be good players going out the door because that's what happens on good football teams.
Yeah. Andy, I want to ask you something because Jacob and I were talking to Rod on his podcast, and we were talking a little because I did want to pick Donovan Peoples-Jones, but to me, I just think there's so much uncertainty with, you draft Anthony Schwartz, you've got Rashard Higgins back, and now you're healthy Odell and Jarvis. So my question to Rod and Jacob was, so who is the third wide receiver? Who outside of Odell and Jarvis? Who contributes the most from the wide receiver position on the Browns in 2021?
Oh, it's got to be Hollywood Higgins for me. I still think that dude's just a tad underrated. His route running is superb. He catches everything. Even if Baker's off a little bit and he's got to go up a little higher and make a spectacular, he does. It's incredible. To me, it's Hollywood Higgins all the way. Oh yeah.
Okay.
And not to mention, he's been Baker's got that comfortability with him. Always has since their first training camp together.
That catch to set up the DPJ game winner week 7.
Yeah.
Who makes that catch? How many other? I know other guys make it, but how many other guys make it?
That's a good point. Yeah, for sure.
Ed's coming in here hot. Keep the yeah. I think so. I think that we're finally in a position to run these long drives. We saw something in Cleveland last year in these halftime before halftime drives that we've never seen before, and it was called. I'm going to see if I can pronounce this right. Good clock management.
Yeah,
and I never thought a Cleveland coach would know how to do that.
I was at the Detroit game when we got right down toward the end zone before halftime, and I think Hugh Jackson called a Deshaun Kaiser QB sneak.
Don't know. We're not talking about that. No, you ain't bringing that bullshit in here.
Hugh was terrible. He was terrible at clock management. My Lord.
We were about to score, and it was going to be a pretty reasonable game, and so they're right down. I'm on the opposite end of the field, and so they're right down in the end zone, and we see them run a play, and halftime, and they're like, "This is the start of halftime." We're like, "What happened? What?"
They were on like the 3. They weren't on the 1. They weren't on the half inch. They were on like the freaking 3. And you didn't have any timeouts, bro.
Yeah, that's kind of why Hugh's not coaching anymore. I'd like to see Hugh pick up a assistant job somewhere. I think he's a good, OC. I thought he was a great OC, honestly, in Cincy. But yeah, those Hugh days, my Lord, someone take the knife out. God damn it!
I've told Nick this, but it was like an insult to injury because the 0-16 campaign I was in Afghanistan. And I watched them all, and I remember right before Corey Coleman dropped that 4th down pass to make it 0-16.
Sure.
It was New Year's. New Year's had kicked off in Afghanistan. We were 9.5 hours ahead. And so I was like, it was New Year's. The Browns were driving, and you were like, oh boy, the Browns are going to win and start out 2018. And then he drops that, and you could have heard a pin drop. Like, it was just, we just sat there, and it was just like, shit.
Yeah.
I will never forget. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I will never forget the game against the Packers that year because Josh Gordon was playing like
it's a deep, dark, scary place, Nick, but go ahead. Dive into this rabbit hole, baby.
He chucked that shit of a bitch straight up in the air.
Josh Gordon's playing like his 2 games of the year or whatever, and Deshaun Kaiser just comes out and throws this beautiful bomb to him, and everything's great. I think we're up 14. We're like, we're gonna win a game. Everything is awesome.
Brett Hundley started that game for Green Bay.
Oh God, and we lost.
Did. You're right. Yeah. Hell of a time to be alive, man.
He chucked that son of a bitch straight up in the air like he was practicing pop flies with his boy in the backyard. And I feel for Deshaun Kaiser because that Hugh ruined him.
Yeah,
I had totally spaced out that game until you guys brought it up. I appreciate it. Thanks. I had totally buried that, locked that away in the vault from hell. You guys just opened it up.
This is true. I remember hearing about this. Actually, Hugh is going. It looks like Hugh's going to take on the OC job at Tennessee State with Eddie George.
Wow,
I missed that. That's awesome.
Eddie Columbus.
Good for him. I missed that. That's good for him. When did they announce that? I missed that.
Yeah, over my head.
It was whenever. I mean, it was draft season, so like I think that's probably what. I remember it now. I remember the rumor that they were going to potentially do it, but I forgot that it went through.
Good for you.
All right.
Yeah, I do agree though. You know, there's a reason that all of Cleveland rejoiced when we hired.
Oh, yeah. It was everyone thought it was a home run hire, including myself.
My buddy was a Giants fan, and Hugh was supposed to leave Cleveland for an interview with the Giants, and Cleveland snatched him before he could go there. And I was like threatening my buddy, like, "Oh, I swear to God, if they get Hugh Jackson over us."
Yeah.
All right.
Well.
I have a scouting report for Demetric Felton I want to read for you guys. I don't know how much you guys have done this. Andy, what we've been doing deep dives on, we did Marvin Wilson, and we have done Tony Fields. And so I got like these notes on my phone. I just run down them, and then then we see what everybody else said. So let me pull this up real quick. Ed says, remember Berea cheered when he walked in the building. Don't I remember it?
Once again, Ed, hell of a time to be alive, man. Let me tell you. Oh my gosh.
Which shows you how much we all know, because one of
we don't know shit. That's the thing. Yeah. None of us do, myself included. I don't have a fucking clue of what I'm saying. All right.
The best rabbit hole in the entire world is to go back to the Browns have hired Kevin Stefanski tweets, like from Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, and just look at those comments and what people thought of that hire, and where we are now. It's my favorite game in existence.
It's great.
I was on the hire Stefanski instead of Freddie train, not because I knew a damn thing. I don't know. I had heard Stefanski talk a few times, and you could just tell, like, hey, this dude knows football more than I'll ever know.
Sure.
And we've proved that. And so yeah, but I praised the Freddie hire. I don't know a fucking thing.
Yeah, the Freddie hire was what was shocking to me about the Freddie hire, how every like majority of Browns fans just gave that a pass. I was one of the very few ones, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's not that I didn't think it was I thought it was a bad hire. I'm not going to say that. I just thought it was a bizarre hire at the time, because he had literally been an OC for a couple months. Yeah. He had never been a head coach at any level. He had never been an OC ever. So for those, that's not the end all be all to make you a good head NFL coach. I just thought it was kind of like a strange hire at the time. I did. Bizarre.
It was one of those things where it reminded me of Tampa Bay firing Lovey to promote Dirk Cutter. Just because Dirk Cutter had some little bit of chemistry with Jameis.
Yeah.
And that's what
he even had more experience than Freddie. A lot more, actually.
Yeah. So
I was the most entrenched I've ever been in coach battles was arguing Freddie Kitchens over Greg Williams. And there was no winner. There was no winner in that debate.
Nobody won that one. No.
I'll never forget Triple G, because he's done it a couple of times. The all out blitz against Case Keenum in the Denver Broncos that worked. And then the next 2 years later, he does the Raiders and they lose the game. And it's just like, buddy, I'll give Greg Williams one thing. He is always Greg Williams. He is always Greg Williams.
That is true.
All right. All right. So Demetric Felton. Let's do this. I got like all kinds of notes. Like, see that? That's what we got.
I see it. I like it.
That's what we're going. So the word that comes up with Demetric Felton, if you're listening to, when you're watching the commentators, is slippery. Slippery is, I hear slippery and explosive. There's it gets, he slipped by that guy. He slipped by that guy. He's undersized. He's 185. He's like, he's kind of got a wide receiver body to him playing some receiver at UCLA and the Senior Bowl. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Kareem Hunt in the sense that, you always think Kareem Hunt is a scat back, but he will lower his shoulder on you. And Demetric Felton will maximize yardage because he will lower his shoulder. He's not going to run you over Nick Chubb style, and he's not going to drag Robert Spillane into the end zone, but he's not going to shy. He's not going to shy away from contact. He's a good route runner. He's good out of the backfield. His best spot is catching swing passes out of the backfield because in open field, he's explosive. I think he can run the jet sweep game, and we know Stefanski wants somebody to do that so damn bad.
He does.
Great hands. Very, very poor testing. He ran a 4.59, and he was the fastest guy at the Senior Bowl, which just does not – I don't know why, and I still have not gotten an explanation. His three-cone drill was poor. I don't know. So he's way faster than he tests. He's got all right vision. He's got a good motor. He's not going to miss a block cry. He's going to be in there. He's going to try. He's an effort blocker. He's a very good decoy on those motions because of his explosivity. I think he's a very good value getting him in round 6. I would have had a little bit more issues if he was like in round 4, just because I'm just uncertain of some things. I'm not sure if he'll have durability concerns because of his size. I think he'll be okay. If he really needs it, I'm sure he'll put on some size. If he has lead blockers, so if there's a fullback or there's Wyatt Teller, he is really good at utilizing them. He will let them set up. That often helps him know where to go in terms of vision issues. But he'll follow what is there. If there's somebody, he wasn't asked to do very much in way of the route tree. So he needs some refinement there. If you're going to ask him to do that, he makes him as a returner. That's the way I think he makes this team. But because of explosivity, I think he makes the team. And I think, just not to the extent of Anthony Schwartz, but I think you could see him used, even if it's just as a decoy. He could have some packages, maybe week 5 or 6 on. Yeah,
I think that's another competition in training. When I mentioned earlier about looking forward to these competitions in training camp, I mean, he's going to be battling Dearness Johnson for the 3rd running back spot. That's pretty much how I see it when I'm hearing. I don't know what happened at his pro day. I don't think anyone knows. I have no clue, because everyone that I see talk about it, respect, like Jake Burns and many other people, that when they watch him on film, it doesn't match that 40 time. It doesn't. He's more explosive on film, and no one really has a freaking explanation of what happened that day, but it is what it is, and it hurt his draft stock for sure, because it was across the board. It was an atrocious pro day for him.
I would have thought, if you watch the film, that maybe a 4.45.
Right. Yeah.
It was really interesting because I saw, I wish I could credit who put them out there, but I saw a bunch of clips of Demetric Felton running routes at the Senior Bowl, and he was legitimately shaking the corners that were covering him. He was finding ways to get open. He looked very, very shifty, and like he had that quickness to create separation. So
sure.
When I read deeper that like you both said, that his athletic testing was so poor, it really surprised me, because obviously the guy that you see on film does not match the way he tested.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And we'll see. It's going to be he or Dearness Johnson are going to win that 3rd running back job. I think that's all, but I mean, that's really all that's left to see with that position group, really.
I like the comment here. I praised Freddie too, because I thought he was the guy sitting next to me in the bleachers.
It's a good point. I like Freddie the person.
Yes.
Yeah.
When he said "whoop-de hell," Oh my God.
Yeah. No, I think it's one of those things. Freddie just was not ready for that job.
No.
I had Jake Burns on the not the same old Browns podcast about a little over a month ago, and he dropped something that I never heard. He had heard apparently that Freddie at the first Senior Bowl where he was head coach, well, the only one because he only was there for 1 year, but he at the Senior Bowl the first night he was just, I guess Freddie was just blitzed drunk at the local watering hole that a lot of the people go to, and that's probably, I mean, is there anything wrong with that? Probably not, but I don't know. Rookie head coach, not the greatest look, maybe little.
I will never ever forget the picture after the Pittsburgh game of him wearing the Pittsburgh Started It shirt with a fan.
I tell you, at the time I actually defended Freddie about that. Now looking back on it,
zip it up,
stupid.
That's the three of us. I would wear that.
Yeah, but I'm not the head. We're not the head coach of the Browns.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, dude, you're just not a fan, man.
Yeah. You can't if you want.
I'd
watch a ball. I watch. We'll make some plays, or
yeah.
I hope so.
And Ed says that Metcalf was slippery, explosive, and undersized.
Yeah,
I don't think Metcalf was undersized.
No,
I don't.
But they did say all he could do was run in a straight line.
That is what they said. They said
he was a smaller guy. He was smaller, but yeah, Belichick used to run him up that was an old joke back then. Metcalf up the middle, because for whatever reason, that's all Belichick most of the time wanted to do with him was just run his little ass up the middle. It's like, bro, get that dude the ball in space. I would love to see Eric Metcalf play in today's NFL. That's what I would like to see. That's what I would. You just totally
Did
what?
I freeze?
No, you're back, man. You're great.
I shit the bed, and I was thinking DK Metcalf. That's literally what I was doing.
So that's where I went to. So Andy was the only one. Andy's on the ball. We're not
the only one.
Oh, you're talking about DK Metcalf?
That's
no,
we're talking about. I thought that's what we were talking
Eric
about.
Metcalf, Cleveland Browns legend. Eric Metcalf.
Well, because
I was like,
the same Eric Metcalf that had 2 punt returns for touchdowns against the Steelers, one of the best Browns games I've ever personally attended. I was at that game.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved Eric Metcalf. Yeah, I'm old. I'll be 40 this year. I'm getting older.
You're not old, Andy.
I'm getting there. I'm not yet.
You bring energy with you. I love it.
I do. I'm a hyper. It's mostly the ADHD, but I am very hyper and an extrovert. There's no doubt about that.
Eric liked a tweet of mine last weekend.
Yeah, over the poll. Yeah, he did.
One of my favorite Browns players from back in the day, for sure. He just wasn't utilized correctly. His game was kind of ahead of its time. He'd be awesome today. He would, because these innovative offenses would know how to use him. Sort of Belichick just plugging him up the middle.
Yeah. Well, and that to me, so I think Dearness Johnson is a good player.
Yeah.
So and no slight to him, but it just feels like to me that them drafting Demetric Felton screams versatility, and it's all Stefanski's preached this entire time.
Oh yeah, well that's kind of I think that's really 2 words define this offseason and all the acquisitions through free agency and the draft: speed and versatility. They've picked up a lot of players who are fast and are versatile. Clowney, all of them. I mean, Malik Jackson, he's even one that can kick outside. Oh, looks like we lost. There he is. He's back.
Yeah, he's back. Here you are.
I just really wanted to be on the bottom.
There you go. Perfect.
Hey, here you are.
Perfect.
But the one thing I did want to say about Demetric Felton, and the thing that excited me about him potentially making the team is we'll find your way, Jacob. Me and Andy, we got this. Sorry, lost my train of thought. So Kareem Hunt, very under the radar. tied Alvin Kamara for the lead in receiving touchdowns for a running back in the NFL last year, which, not especially playing half the time is incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
So when you look at Demetric Felton, it's hard not to see the future, right? Because Andrew Berry says you're drafting for the future, you're building for the future. So those skills look a lot similar, especially the receiving skills, to what Kareem Hunt brings.
Sure,
and that excites me.
No, it does. I mean, it like this. The roster is just that all these additions. It's just been players who are versatile. I mean, I love that because it makes it, to me. I think it makes a coach's life so much more easier that you can just move guys around. I mean, even JOK. Talk about versatility. I mean, we're not to bring up if he's a linebacker or a safety. It doesn't really matter. He can play both. He is kind of both. I've been calling him a safety backer or a line safety just to piss people off. But, I mean, he can do, is just another player in the mix. It's just versatile. That, to me, has been the ringing theme of this offseason for the Browns and their acquisitions. Speed and versatility.
And you especially saw it against any quarterback.
Me because I can see you but not hear you. Holy shit! So you can hear me and I didn't hear this whole time.
You. Now you're back. You've gone out a couple times.
You're frozen for me, but I can hear you. Oh, here you are.
There you go.
You're back.
There you are.
Yeah.
Hey.
Welcome.
I don't know if
I'm gonna try something. Hold on.
Okay.
Sure.
But playing off your speed comment, Andy, is especially against Lamar, but really against any quarterback that could do any really scrambling in any fashion, the Browns just did not match up last year.
No.
And so,
they just didn't have the horses or the dogs in the back seven of the defense to compete, really, really, truly be true Super Bowl contenders. The offense was there.
Here I am.
There it is. Hey.
Oh, he was here for a second.
He was.
This is, what? So we've had a couple technical difficulties along the way with Jacob's internet.
Sure.
This is probably the biggest struggle that we've had thus far.
It happens. It happens.
What are you gonna do?
It happens. Nothing you can do, man. You just got to be positive about it and try to, like he said, once he moves, I'm sure he'll have a better setup and everything.
You know what, Andy? I'm just really glad you're here because otherwise I'd be talking to myself.
Well, perfect. It works out perfect for everyone here. It totally does. And I like this shot of Jacob going like this. It's perfect. It's perfect, man. You froze in like the perfect spot.
Yeah. At least it looks good.
It does. He does. He looks happy. He looks excited. He's happy to. Our roster is kick-ass like the 1995 Tribe. Imagine Albert Bell as a linebacker. Ed, I would pay to see that. Albert Bell is like a middle linebacker. Yes, please. I saw him try to. I saw him take out Fernando Vina back in the day. I'd like to see him take out a wide receiver coming over the middle for sure.
Yes, sir. I did. You know what? We touched a really small bit on building the Browns, but I wanted to go back and ask. Something I came away with is the first time I watched Building the Browns, I noticed that they, from the players to Stefanski to like his opening little segment with them.
Sure.
He repeatedly was like, work, work, work. They all repeatedly said work. So I watched it back and I counted. They said the word work 18 times in 22 minutes.
They did say it a lot. I love that they're trying to drive that stuff home, man.
Yeah.
Work and team. I'm just so glad we have Kevin Stefanski. You took that away. That was your takeaway. My takeaway from it was I need to get a pair of Crocs, man. Greg Newsom, man, he might be selling me on some Crocs. They look talk about versatile. They're very versatile, man. As he said, like this Browns offseason. Yeah, man. Give me some Crocs. I feel good about life. I usually like sandals anyway. They're kind of sandally, but they're shoes. Yeah. You can wear them in water. You can wear them in the shower. I mean, not that I'm going to wear shoes in the shower, but you never know.
Hey,
maybe I'll start.
Yeah, why not? Sponsorship waiting.
I know, right?
Dude, I
Poor
thought Crocs-
Jacob. Well, I feel bad for Jacob.
Yeah, I know, man. Dude,
Poor
here we
guy.
are.
But we still got our top 5 sexiest coaches to go.
You know,
I got my number 5 is going to blow you all the way.
I can't wait. You know what? I feel like we'd be doing a disservice to Jacob if we do it without him here. But
yeah, I agree.
I got some more time if you do.
Yeah, I've got. We still got our top 5 sexiest coaches to go. There it is.
Yes. Look at you go, Jacob.
I was watching.
I see.
I can't wait.
All right. Sorry, guys. I just switched to a different router. Apparently that one went out.
Oh, well,
okay.
That'll do it. Welcome back, man. Welcome in.
It was great. You guys rolled just right through it. It was fantastic. Phenomenal work by you two.
Hey, we're pros here, man.
Dude, shout out to Andy for being great.
You guys are all right yourselves, man. Welcome back, Jacob.
Right.
It's good to see you, man. How are things?
Thank you. It's great. I'm sweating. It's hot in here. And I'm excited. Okay. I'm excited for this topic. We're towards the tail end of our show. We've had a lot of fun.
We have.
I asked you did this thing that I didn't know I needed until last week on your show. And you did the 5 sexiest players from the Cleveland Browns since 1999.
We sure did.
And I told my wife.
A lot of fun.
And I told my wife about it, and she said, "You guys should do the 5 sexiest coaches since 1999." And I was like, you know what? 3 straight white dudes are going to tell you who is a sexy coach.
That's right. Because it was perfect. I did it with Brittany Mollis and Caitlin Marshall. So and myself. So we had the straight dude, myself. We had the woke hot chick, and then we had the token gay in Caitlin. So it was perfect. We had the perfect group of people to judge the looks of the Cleveland Browns. And I think today we have the perfect threesome to judge the looks of Cleveland Browns coaches.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Why not?
We might lose people right here. We might gain people right here. I don't care.
Man.
Let's find out.
I'm ready.
I'm ready to roll.
All right. Number 5.
Number 5. Okay, hold on. I have my list. Give me a hot second.
I do too. You guys, I'm still debating who number 4 is, and I really hate to admit that to you guys, but I'm not. I want to see who you guys say, and I might steal it. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
I got a couple sleepers for you. I'm coming in hot at number 5 with the guy.
Go for it.
With a guy who saved his job by rattling off wins at the end of the season, none other than Eric Mangini.
Yeah, he won 4 in a row. I was like,
hey, Mike, man, I can come back. I just won 4. Yes, come on in, Eric. We'll keep your job.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying.
One before that.
Yeah.
The guy back in the day, I mean, I was looking. I looked at all the Browns coaches, and I was like, Eric Mangini, he had it going back in his Browns days. Hey, good for you, Eric. Good for you.
This is gonna be funny. Okay, when we started doing that, you told me we're allowed to do assistant coaches as well, right? Is that right? Okay, because I have a couple assistants on my list. At number 5, to me, if you're funny, that's sexy to me. If you gotta be funny, you gotta be funny. That's so attractive to me. It's sexy as hell. And at number 5, I got former offensive line coach Bob freaking Wiley. Hut. At number 5. That dude is one of the funniest mother effers you will ever see on a football sideline. So, yeah, you damn right. Could he lose a couple pounds? Sure, we all could. I know, Lord, I can.
He was a magician.
So funny. And yes, that funny to me equals sexy. I've got Bob freaking Wiley at number 5. You damn right.
What did he say? Do you think they were worried about fucking stretching on the beaches of Normandy?
Come on. That dude is hilarious.
Hey, Ed is all in. Ed is all in.
Yeah, Ed here for it all.
Yep.
He wants us to know that Chud is a stud.
Chud was a stud. You're right.
No,
Absolutely.
He might be on my list. You'll
Ed's
find out.
stealing. Ed is just looking at my list. How could you do this, Ed? Spoiler
Number
alert.
5.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Number 5 for me. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Pep Hamilton.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Hamilton.
That's a handsome fella.
Yes.
Yeah. I had to look it up to make sure he looked like what I thought he did, and I was like, oh yeah,
I know.
good looking dude.
Yeah.
He's
He's no
so
Bob
good.
Wiley. He's no Bob Wiley, but he's good looking.
Yeah. Dude, I remember when Pep Hamilton was it the XFL Washington coach? I think
Yes.
he was.
Something.
Yeah, and I was like, dude,
One
hey,
of those teams. I
that
can't
guy
remember.
looks like the face of a franchise. So like I
He
see it.
does.
I see it.
He does.
All right, guys, hit me with number 4.
Oh. Okay. Number 4, I have the man who came back and was the large hire of the new Browns, Butch Davis.
Oh,
You know, and so funny story. I have so it's a bobblehead. It is a Butch Davis bobblehead, but it's surrounded by First Energy Stadium from like I don't know what even year, and they just got like the hair flow going. You know what I'm saying?
that dude
And-
had some hair.
Yeah. That
He
guy.
did.
I wish I could pull up a picture because man, that guy had some luscious locks on him.
He did.
I got to give it to him. I do.
And
I do.
And
He
I
deserves
mean, come on, his name's Butch. That's sexy enough just alone.
it. Exactly.
Yeah, I like that one. My number 4 is a coach. One of my I'm sure he's a good dude. I don't mean this personally attack the person, but he ran one of the worst Browns offenses I've ever seen.
I know where this is.
Oh no.
But I will say he's I mean, he was real fit. He was cut. He had a nice, handsome face, and he had these expressions. I used to call them Shermanisms in his press conferences.
There it is.
You know, I mean, you know, he was the best at that, and I think that's. I mean, he was genuine, you know, and he battled. That's what he did. He was genuine, and I'm just being genuine right now, and I am being genuine right now that Pat Shurmur is my number 4 sexiest Browns coach since 1999. Dude, he used to wear those it was like a white shirt and it was like that silky material and it was kind of tight. And you could dude, you could see how cut he was. Yeah, absolutely. Great shape, great looking dude. Just not an NFL head coach, sadly.
Nope.
That was him. We're hanging through here, but we're hoping the wives don't walk out. I bet my wife's watching right now. She thinks it's hilarious, and she can hear me too because I scream.
That's right.
So number
Hi,
4.
Hello. Number 4. Go ahead. Sorry, Jacob.
No, you're fine.
Oh, it was just a
Number
matter of
4
time until I
is a
hijacked
guy-
the show. Here we are.
Hey,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Happy to have at it.
I knew you were the perfect guy to have on for our first guest. So
Our first guest
here
ever.
we are.
It's an honor. I appreciate it, boys. I really do.
You know, Andy, I've gotten far too little of you on Brown's Twitter, so I'm really glad you could be here.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to be
I'm
here.
just saying, you know, it's like we got a nice slice of pie out here in Twitter, and it's like you don't get everybody. And so when Jacob was like, "Hey, you know, I think Andy would be great for this," I was like, "You are right."
Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you guys thinking of me.
Number 4. Are
Yes.
you ready? It is a man that I think in Cleveland and his stop before this got a really raw end of the deal.
Mm.
And it is former Arizona head coach Steve Wilkes.
Ooh,
Wow.
He is a good-looking dude.
He's got
like him a
that
lot.
right amount of gray.
Yeah, man.
Mhm.
He is a sexy dude. Man, there was some Browns have had some good-looking assistant coaches, head coaches. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to put him up. I put him above Bob Wiley probably, but I forgot about Steve Wilkes. Wilkes is a good one.
Yeah.
We might have to get into. I'm getting really excited when we get to 2 because you're just not going to see who 2 is. My dad did not like my number 2. He didn't.
I've got
all right.
Oh, sorry.
Hit us with number 3, Nick.
I've got a number 3, and it's the man who rocked a visor like no other Brown coach did. He was here for just 1 year.
He did.
And Rob Chudzinski and that sweet little visor, you can't deny it. You can't do it. I wish I could pull up a picture.
I just remember Chud because he would go for it on every fourth down. He ran that fake punt to Reggie Hodges that went for like 54 yards right up the middle. And I just remember there was a GIF that went around Twitter at the time, and it was from that episode of South Park where Randy Marsh had to carry his giant nuts around in a wheelbarrow. But then it was Chud's face superimposed on it, just walking around with his giant nuts.
I love it.
Hey,
I love it so much.
Ed says the wife's in. Chud was a stud.
He was, and I see him mention Schottenheimer. If we would have done coaches all time, Schottenheimer, young Marty was a good looking dude, man. He was.
Yep. All right, Andy, what you got? Number 3.
Number 3, I got another coach. Honestly, I would say this coach got probably one of the biggest raw deals since 1999, and a lot of Browns coaches got raw deals. Hell, I could even argue Hugh Jackson got a little bit of a raw deal, a little bit, even though he wasn't great. But this guy, he's got the shaved head. He always had dark shades on. Sex was better when they won, he says. So, I mean, that's sexy to me. I agree. Everything's better when you're winning. Food's better.
Yeah.
Food tastes better. Drinks taste better. Sex is better. Mike Penn, number 3. Kind of a sexy dude, man. He's got that bald head. He almost looks like that hot bad boy, kind of a little bit, when he had those dark shades on. And he's just kind of a man's man. Mike Penn.
Got the goatee going, badass.
Absolutely. He literally looked like Stone Cold Steve Austin. He looked like a bad motherfucker, man. Absolutely. He's the bad boy off my list. Yes.
When Patton was hired.
Yeah.
When Patton was hired, the first thing I said was, "Who the hell is that?"
Right? I think we all did because he was like their 7th choice.
So
because they missed out on everyone
go with
else.
Number 3. Yeah. Well, I got to go with number 3, and then I'm going to hit you with number 2 because number 2 is Mike Patton. That's where I was. Mike Patton was my number 2. So I'm going to skip to number 2, and then I'll tell you number 3. Mike Patton was number 2. And my dad didn't agree with me, but I'm glad that you agreed with me, Andy, because like he just it was something about him. He just seemed like a cool SOB.
Absolutely. He's absolutely.
Number 3 is none other than how will I say? Okay, I will not call him the best offensive coordinator in Cleveland Browns history since 1999, but I will say he did the most with an odd array of talent, and that is Kyle Shanahan.
Ooh. I like Kyle. I like Kyle a lot. I'm actually going to cut you real quick, Nick, and go to my number 2 because it's Kyle Shanahan. I'm right there with you. He's my number 2. Kyle Shanahan is my number 2. You and I just had Pettin and Shanahan flipped, huh?
No,
how about that? Yeah, I had
it.
to get Kyle Shanahan, or my friend Kay might have hurt me if I didn't. But Kyle Shanahan is a very, very attractive young man. I think that's come on, he is. His dad, honestly, was pretty good looking too.
Mike, shout out to Mike Shanahan
for real. Absolutely. So he's got good genes. He's got that going. He's nice and fit. He's got a nice smile, nice big smile. Another one with a nice head of hair. He's always wearing a hat. You can't see it, but when it's off, he looks good. And he looks good in a hat. Tell me that man don't look good in a hat in a headset.
No.
Come on.
You know what?
Absolutely.
Spoiler alert. My number 1 is Kyle Shanahan, the orchestrator of the sexiest Browns offense since 1999 is Kyle Shanahan. And if you make sexy offense, you are sexy yourself. Kyle Shanahan.
I love it, dude.
Nobody did more with less.
This is true.
I cannot think.
You're correct.
I love Kevin Stefanski.
He won with Brian Hoyer.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was when he was the offensive coordinator when Josh Gordon led the league in receiving, correct?
Yeah.
And so I'm in 14 games, Josh Gordon led the league in receiving with Brandon Weeden.
Sure.
Right? Kyle Shanahan orchestrates that. I mean, that's sex. That
It
right
is.
there.
You ain't lying, man.
For as long as I live, I will never forget that Josh Gordon season.
Number one, and then I'm going to catch up. We got some questions and some other things over on the side, and we'll catch up on that. Number one for me.
Yeah. What was Nick's number 2, though?
Oh, yeah. Nick, you're number 2.
Oh,
you didn't.
Yeah, so gonna upset all of the ladies that or all the people that in general.
I think it's obvious who number 2 is.
Yeah. And so the rising star of the Cleveland Browns organization in a Kyle Shanahan upset, because Kevin Stefanski would be the number 1 seed.
Sure.
Is definitely Kevin Stefanski to me. I mean, you love it.
He's my number 1.
I love it.
Everybody loves the little salt and pepper action.
Absolutely. I'm rocking it.
Hey, he's got it going. I'm saying.
He looks much better than I do, though. For sure.
Coach, you're my number 1. I want you to know that wherever you are, Coach Steph, you're not listening to this. You have far better things to do right now with your time.
What do you mean? What could be better than listening to 3 dudes rank the top 5 sexiest Browns coaches since 1999? I dare you to find something more entertaining to do.
Yeah. Hey, we've kept our viewers. Here we are. We got people coming. He's coming with us.
Okay, we'll go over here. Wait, no, we need your number 1, Andy.
My number 1, spoiler, it's Chris Palmer. No, it's really not. It is not. It's Romeo Crennel. No, it's not. I'm serious. It's not. Nothing against Romeo. Fine fella. But I got to go.
What a name.
Right? You think he should be on there just by name alone, but he didn't crack my top 5.
Did you?
But I will say it is Kevin Stefanski, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you? And I heard this randomly when Romeo was the head coach, and maybe somebody fact checks me and proves me wrong, but like I remember them saying he has a twin sister named Juliet.
Does
no?
I have no idea. I never heard that.
Oh.
I swear to God I heard that sometime, and somebody fact checked me, but I swear somebody said that when he was the coach, and I was like, that if it's true, it's the weirdest thing of all time.
That is weird. That's pretty cool. That's kind of wild.
Ed says Pettin was Goldberg or Steve Austin. He was.
He had that look, man. He had that look.
Sometimes you just hope change was better than what we had at the time. That's my Uncle Michael coming in there. He said, and I assume talking about coaches changes, and that's absolutely.
But Uncle Mike, what we truly want to know from you, Uncle Mike, is who is the sexiest Cleveland Browns coach of all time? That's what we want to know.
I would love to know.
Ed says it's his last question. He swears sexier, Bernie or Tim Couch, and he's going with the 80s. You have to go with Bernie. Tim's a good-looking dude.
Well, here's the thing. Tim looks, my goodness, he looks better 20 years later than he did when he was a kid coming out of Kentucky. But if we're going by when they were players, yes, Bernie. Absolutely. Yeah. The perm. I mean, come on, man. He had that. It's like that, like from Coming to America, that soul glow shit going on, man. It was incredible. Soul glow.
He had his own cereal. Like
he had the entire city at the palm of his hand. Yeah. That's what he had. Absolutely.
He's got songs made about him.
Songs that I still sing out of nowhere to this day, 30 years later.
Sure.
This is a really weird fact, but did you know that the Beach Boys stole a song from Charles Manson?
I did not know that. Or actually, I think I have read that before. I do. Actually, that does sound familiar. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people don't know that Charles Manson was an inspiring musician. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what he went out to LA. That's where he went. That's why he went out there.
Yeah, he kind of went down a different path and started a cult and murdered a bunch of people. But it happened. LA's a crazy town, man. You know, what are you gonna do?
Where you end up.
I lived there for 15 years. I know it's crazy.
Oh wow.
So
I didn't join a cult and murder a bunch of people, so that's good. I have that going for me.
So, guys, this has been an absolutely phenomenal hour in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're doing great here.
Absolutely.
I hope.
My penis has moved several times during this. It's been great.
Wow.
Fantastic. It's been great. He's excited to be here too. Just know
Andy,
that.
I can't thank you enough. This has been so much fun.
I agree. Thank you guys so much for having me on. It really does mean a lot. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
At a time when Brown's Twitter needed us to be morons, we stepped up.
Sure.
And if you want to use this, Andy, I know you do a lot in Brown's Twitter. So if you want to talk anything about that, that'd be great.
No, I just I've been tweeting I've probably been tweeting about Cleveland sports consistently since 2012, probably 2013. But I back in 2014 is the first time I got the idea that I wanted to possibly do a Browns podcast. I just never did. And I started doing content creation a few years ago, streaming on Twitch, a lot actually. I have like 3,500 hours streamed on Twitch in my life in the last 3 years. But I started a horror movie podcast about 1.5 years ago. We just dropped episode 123 on that.
Wow.
This past Monday. My buddy Brian and I co-host that. It's called Dead in Santa Carla. If you like horror movies, check it out. But I just recently launched in the middle of March. I launched a Browns podcast, and it's called Not the Same Old Browns Podcast. You can follow that at Not Same Browns. You can follow me at Andy Cleves _. We actually just dropped, I just dropped episode 12 today. Wow. And we had one of Cleveland's finest, Mr. Ken Carman from 92.3 The Fan. I sat down with Ken unfiltered for 2 hours, just like two buds talking Browns and life at the bar. And it was such a fun experience. So if you want to check out the not the Same Old Browns podcast, I'd appreciate it. It has a lot of fun. We've had, I've had Jake Burns on, I've had Lane Atkins on, I had Cameron Justice on from News 5 Cleveland. My friend Caitlin, the Top Dogs podcast, lots of people. My buddy, my old Hollywood Browns backers brethren, Mitchell Fink. He's an actor. I had him on for an episode. It's a really fun time. So, and I might have in the near future, I might have some stuff to announce with the Not the Same Old Browns podcast. So stay tuned for that.
Can't wait.
So might have some things in store for that very soon. So
okay.
Appreciate you guys having me on. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, Ken is the man.
I love Ken.
When his explanation of why he was late, because he was late to record with you, and him getting on here, and he was like, "Oh man, you don't even know the kind of day I've had." And
it was great. It was funny because we were he finally jumped in when he was like 45 minutes late, and he started to tell me, I'm like, "Oh, dude, this is great. Save it. I'm just gonna click record and let's just get into this." Let's go.
And he was,
but that's what we do. That's what we do. That's the whole point of my show, the not the Same Old Browns podcast, is to get to know guests and get to know these people like Ken Carman and Cameron Justice and Brittany Mollis and all of them. Just get to know them. That's what's most important. Secondly, is making you laugh. If you're not getting to know these guests and you're not laughing while you're listening to my show, then I'm doing something wrong. But that's really my two goals. And I just totally interrupted you again, Jacob. I apologize by all means.
I am the worst person in the world because I do that in everyday life. I have issues, but like I have extreme ADHD myself, and so my brain goes a million miles a minute. So if you say something, I'm like, oh, I gotta say this. I need to say this, and if I don't say it right now, I will die.
Yes.
Yes. And because of that, I cut people off, and I'm like, it's like, dude, you're 30. I know you can be better. but I can't. I haven't.
I'm 40 and I'm worse than you, so don't worry. I'll be 40 in September and I'm worse than you, so don't worry. I haven't learned a damn thing.
For a bunch of people that are, I don't know if I join the club. I'm pretty hyper myself, but I that might just be me. I'm not sure. Yeah. But I think we bounced off each other really well.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man.
So pat on the back. Well done. Well done.
Absolutely.
Kisses to everybody.
I appreciate. Really though, seriously, thank you guys for coming on, and I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. Well,
so this has been episode 4 of the Barking Browns show. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. That's Andy. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you would take the time to subscribe on our YouTube, we would really appreciate that. If you would give Andy a follow, he deserves it. I mean, if this episode didn't make it obvious enough.
Don't follow me. Don't. Listen to the podcast, but don't follow me on Twitter. Nah, it's not worth it. Well, follow the Not Same Browns. Don't follow me.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
But as always, go Browns.
Go Browns.
Who? Go Browns, baby.